So I want to argue that this voluntary association moved from a place of simply influencing what government did to becoming a collaborative partner with government, a political player that city officials and local developers found that they had to be in active, ongoing negotiation with and regularly take into account. I see this as a story of, at first, oppositional, a more traditional role for civically engaged voluntary associations, advocating with government, trying to influence government, so it certainly started out that way, and later a collaborative, ongoing working relationship. I see this as evidence of how sometimes, at least some, civil society actors can become a dynamic and ongoing part of actual public decision making, not limited simply to influence, but holding the power to actually govern. And I think it shows how these kinds of public decisions are at least sometimes socially produced through negotiation between state and non-state actors. How, in some cases at least, government officials and engaged members of community actively negotiate and adapt to one another's positions. How agreements on public issues emerge as decisions made by both. A final caveat. Some of this literature, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, seems to claim by definition that governance is only done by the state, by government, by elected and appointed officials, by definition. Now, one can, of course, make that claim, right? And one can't really debate a definitional claim. One can say, and I'm saying, that that claim is of limited value in understanding, at least in some of the instances I'm looking at, in how civic engagement is actually practiced on the ground, right? It poses conceptual and definitional barriers to understanding what is really occurring empirically, and so it is that conceptual barrier that I'm challenging. This is, as I said, work in progress. One of the things I'm interested, of course, in doing is specifying, for example, the circumstances and conditions under which sometimes voluntary associations, civically engaged residents can step forward and actually govern. When do they want to? Because it isn't always a good idea. The literature also, as many of you know, talk about the dangers of co-optation, that if civil society actors become too involved, merge with government, and there are some models for this around the country where government appoints, for example, an advisory group of citizens, and then what's their independence and what's their voice. I haven't talked about this here, but what I see in my research is that voluntary associations like Mystic View Task Force, which is still there, still active, they choose. Sometimes they collaborate with government, sometimes they don't, right? And so they retain their relative independence from government, and I think that's very important in addressing this very real danger of co-optation. So this is new work. I'm still working it through, and I'm very eager to hear your thoughts and your advice and your questions, and I thank you for your attention.